This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 70.
You can really make a life with this, not you can be rich beyond your wildest dreams within 2 minutes.
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. And this is your host,
who has broken the law with fellow community members. What a bond we have together.
ClayTrader.
So here's the scenario. We had a meet and greet in Pittsburgh, and we were going to the train because we were trying to get down to the river because one of the members had their boat and they had docked it and they invited everybody down there. So in order to get to the train, we had to cross some streets. And I will just leave it. There was a lot of jaywalking that was going on and somewhat decent amounts of traffic. So yes, I am a rebel. Yes, when I break laws, I break the hardcore ones such as jaywalking with fellow members of the chat room. But I think our esteemed co-host, Ches, he went across every crosswalk flawlessly. Like he made right angles wherever he went. Actually, I don't know if that's true. Ches, were you jaywalking too? Were you helping us break the laws?
I was king of jaywalking, going on like turn arrows and stuff because there was no cars going. Because when you have a party that large, and bear in mind if you guys are new here, Kelly and I lived in the city for many, many, many years. So jaywalking is completely the norm there. So I had to help corral the entire group safely across the road. So generally, I got it in a somewhat, logical way. But yeah, we definitely did a bit of jaywalking, though, that's for sure.
That's true. You grew up in Chicago, so you were just like speeding down the streets of Pittsburgh. Like, you call this a city? You call this traffic? There's only 4 lanes of traffic here. I spit on you. So he had no. And on another note, I just realized we can officially talk about this because it's actually happened. Ches, you are married now. At the time
I am
of this
married now,
recording, you're finally married. For those
Yep,
listeners,
so
this will be a little bit delayed, but by the time listeners hear this, you'll be married for probably about a month or so by now. But congratulations on that.
yeah, I guess now I got to be as boring as all you married men out there. So I guess I've joined the ranks finally.
Trust me, the spice just starts now. Now you can say whatever because have you ever seen The Departed?
Yes, I have.
I don't know the exact quote, but there's something about when you're married, that implies that there's at least one person in the world that can stand you enough, which means you're probably at least a halfway decent. I can't remember the exact, but I think Alex Baldwin delivers it, and do you know what dialogue I'm talking about or no?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the exact quote. But yes,
Okay,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, now I have somebody to listen to my old high school stories with, 30 years later when I'm still telling them like I'm the king of school or something. So yes,
Exactly.
I do have that.
Exactly. And for all of you that are wondering, Ches and Kelly, Ches and Kelly Trader, they throw a fantastic wedding. I just confessed to them before we got started. I was a little nervous going in because Ches did invite me and the producer of the show, IT Nate, because we all work together. And I'm like, I don't really know anybody. I'm not the most outgoing person, but it was great. It was the latest I've stayed up in a long time. And Kelly Trader has already said you're welcome to me because she thinks that we're going to have a kid in 9 months from now. So, and she's taking full responsibility for it because, yeah, it was a good time. So if we do have a kid 9 months from now, we might have to name it Kelly, whether it's a boy or a girl. So we are getting way off topic. People are like, why are these people still talking? We actually have an interview with a trader. Clark Kent is his name in the chat room, and he's been around for quite a while, but it was a great interview. He's got a good, interesting story. And he kind of razzed me a little bit about my repetition. So I'll try not to repeat myself too much. But he's got a military background, and he's going about things the right way. And he's a lot of little nuggets of wisdom scattered throughout. So definitely stick around through the whole thing, as I'm sure you'll be able to pull out some, like I said, little bits of nuggets of wisdom from there. So without further ado, let's hop right in with Superman. Well, hey, Kent, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Going pretty well. Now, we were just discussing beforehand, and so my first thing that I learned about you, you have 5 kids, and you gave us a fair warning. We could hear some family activity in the background. So for you listeners out there, if you hear some kids or, just mass chaos, hey, that's just the life of having 5 kids. So how old are your kids? I'm curious.
My oldest just turned 13 yesterday, and then 11, 9, almost 6, and almost 2.
I can barely. I have three, and I can barely remember their ages. So, first off, props to you on because you had no idea that question was coming. So I put you on the spot, and you responded very well. So, you also shared some information that you're going to be going on vacation tomorrow. So you got all sorts of stuff going on. 5 kids trying to get ready for vacation, and hey, why not throw in a podcast interview? So, in all seriousness, thank you very much for squeezing us in to your very hectic day. So. I'm sure you've listened to at least some podcasts in the past, so I think you probably know what's coming, but let's just get to it. So where did you hear about the market? What got you interested in the market? And kind of what was that final thing that really just pushed you over the edge in terms of, you know what, I want to put some money on the line and, see how things go?
Well, when I was 15, back in the 90s, I was introduced to stock options and split options. Specifically, and so I never did anything with it. It was just some of the guys that I was working for, and they wanted to know. They kept trying to get me to go into mutual funds all the time, but all they ever talked about was stock options and split options and all that stuff. And I watched those guys. They got it was 2 brothers and a brother-in-law, and all 3 of them got $40,000 together. And I watched those guys bleed that thing away until it was like $2,000. And I think they did that in like 4 months, maybe.
Just so I heard right, because maybe I zoned out. Did you say $400,000 to $2,000?
No, just 40. Just 40.
Okay, well, $40,000 to $2,000. I guess not quite as bad, but just 40.
Not quite as bad, but definitely still bad. Yeah, but 400,000 is like devastating. But 40,000 is still not good by any stretch either.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. I just want to make sure I heard those numbers right.
Nope, that's exactly it. So that was kind of I guess if you call that an introduction, that was the first. I knew about mutual funds. I mean, everybody knew about sticking your money in the bank was the same as putting it under your mattress and stuff like that, back in the 90s. But these guys were talking mutual funds, and then they started talking split options, and I watched them, bleed that account away. And so that was kind of my introduction. And I guess thinking back on it now, that's probably why I didn't do anything with it. Because, I watched all the grief and heartache that those guys went through, and, their families. It was rough on the family, their whole family. And so that's, I didn't do anything with it. And then I kind of went off and lived life and, joined the Army, did all kinds of other stuff. And, that's, if you want to talk about that, that's fine. Loved being in the Army.
I'm not actually surprised at all. I mean, if there's any a scary lesson to see, first off, it could just be, maybe somebody you work with or a loose acquaintance lose money in the market. But the fact that you watch these close family friends literally lose almost 100% of that account, if there's any kind of a red flag for you, maybe not put your money there or kind of not follow in their footsteps, that's definitely the one. So obviously a scary first introduction to the market.
I'm curious. I mean, were you in contact with these people in terms of like, were they saying, yeah, we just keep screwing it up, or were they blaming, exterior things? What was their perspective on losing all this money? Were they taking blame for it, or were they trying to just say, oh, it's out of our control? What was their viewpoint, or didn't they really share that much information with, about it?
Well, they didn't share a ton of information, but they didn't, to me, when they would talk to me about it, as a 15, 16-year-old kid, they took full blame for it. They were trading completely emotionally. It was it went down, it went down, it went down. It'll go back up. It'll go back up. And so I'm just going to hang on to this thing. And they didn't have any kind of stop losses, at all. And I don't even know if in the 90s there was a way to have a stop loss unless you called your broker. It was back in that era. But I know that they were trading completely emotionally, and they would say it all the time. And sometimes, I'd show up to work and they would have, hey, we're up, this many $1,000s, And then the very next day, oh, now we're back down, farther than when we started. And so, they wouldn't, I don't have any idea what kind of a game plan they were trading. I don't know, I don't know what strategy they were going for, except for, let's let it ride. Let's see what happens. I mean, they were straight up gambling, from what I could see.
Yeah, and I guess to give them credit, it sounds like they weren't like a lot of people where they're only ever talking about when they're up or when they have winning trades. It sounds like if they were telling you, well, now we're down even more than what we were up yesterday, at least they were transparent about it to you and didn't make it sound like they were like just killing it or anything like that, when in reality they weren't doing so hot. So but yeah, the way you described it, probably gambling. And I don't even know how people did it back then. Like 90s, that was way before I got into the market. So I'd imagine that had to been a lot stressful to see the market acting a certain way, and then for you have to get on the phone with your broker and do all that sort of stuff. Wouldn't you think, Ches? I mean, because Ches is more so the options trader than myself here, but that would be kind of, I don't know. What would your perspective be on that, Ches, if you had to always be calling into your broker and stuff back in the 90s?
Well, I think it goes two different ways, and obviously it depends on their strategy, but the fact with the way technology is today, that I can always kind of check on a position. Even if you're working a full-time job, generally brokers have phone apps, or you can go on the website and do something now. Now, keep in mind, like I said, it cuts two ways. If you're swing trading, it might be best for you not be able to have that information in your hands at all times. But if you're kind of like these guys and maybe playing with high leverage, looking for short intraday moves, and you're on a pretty slow internet connection, especially at that time, if you have any kind of live information at all. And then you got to deal with calling the broker, and then I know commissions are just ridiculous because you're executing through somebody and not yourself. That's where I could see if there's ever a time to be emotionally trading. Think about it. If you have a losing trade now, it's hard enough for a lot of people just to kind of book a losing trade. But now you go on your platform, you eventually muster up the courage to press close position, you close it. Now imagine if you had 3 extra steps where I got to go pick up the phone. I got to call this guy and admit I'm wrong. He's got to close this for me. These are extra steps that might, your brain might say, I'm going to hold on to this just a little bit longer. So,
I never thought about that, Ches. Back in the day, and the whole point of this is I'm trying to, I guess maybe this is my fatherly side coming out of, I'm getting old. We got a lot to be grateful for in this day and age of technology. Because I didn't think about that, Ches, so this is not what I was thinking that, but that just compounds to it. But yeah, having to call up your broker and like, I'd like to cut my loss, which is basically talking to another human being and admitting you're wrong to somebody. So,
what are you, a whip or something? Hang on to it, buddy. You're waiting for that
exactly.
to come back on the other side of the phone.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh man. So, like I said, point being, we got a lot to be grateful for in this day of technology. But that's exactly you little. Yeah, I can't do the accent like you can, but that was well played. So you go off and join the Army. That's cool. Well, first off, thank you for. Are you still serving?
No, I got out about 1.5 years ago.
Well, regardless, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. So you join the Army, you serve, you get out. When did you actually start to, kind of make your way back into the market, and what piqued your interest again?
Well, so I saw, everybody, I watched Boiler Room, everybody was, my last deployment that I went on in 2014, everybody was watching The Wolf of Wall Street. So,
Boiler Room, Wolf of Wall Street. That's 2 good ones to get you introduced.
Hey, classics. If you want to learn the right way, that's not it. And so anyway, I'd seen those, and so it didn't surprise me at all when I was checking email and stuff like that, and that guy that we always see online advertising, I'm going to make you a billionaire so you can drive Lamborghinis and fly Apaches to your job, to your office, that I'm going to buy you right on Long Island. And, so I saw all that stuff, and I thought, and I'd always just X out the windows or close the little pop-ups, and I didn't want to see that dude, a goofy, curly-haired looking guy. And so one day I was like, man, I'm just going to listen to this dude and see what he says. And so I played one of his videos, and I was like, penny stocks. That's interesting, and I called my brother and I was like, hey dude, what do you know about, what do you know about penny stocks? And I didn't even know what they were really called at the point. I knew what a penny stock was, but I didn't know the real name for it. And so we talked it over and talked it over, and I started YouTubing everything. Get all the stuff that ClayTrader says don't do. Get all the free information I can possibly find. Because the
Part
free
of the path,
information
we all do it. Whatever we can get our hands on for free that's out there, and we instantly think that we're professionals. So keep on going. So you're Googling now. You're Googling penny stocks of all things, which is always a plethora of great information.
Well, it is. And so I was, whatever YouTube videos I could find, and I got to figure out how to do this, and I'm just going to give this thing a shot. And, and honestly, with the way the military was, the Army was when I joined, I had gotten huge chunks of money for enlistment bonuses and things like that. And it's a good thing that I didn't know anything about anything, or I would have blew it all. Real bad, and I had some friends in 2008, and he would, I don't know what he did. He watched news and traded, and, he'd try to stick to like $5 stocks. But he said it was the wild, wild west in 2008, 2009. And, I don't know how much money he said he blew through, but he'd gain $2,000 to his account in a day, and then $2,000 the next day, and then he'd lose $8 the next day. And I mean, he was going crazy. And but like I said, he didn't tell me about any of this stuff until I just talked to him like a couple of months ago. And
so the hindsight confessions.
Yeah. And so anyway, it's a good thing I didn't have any knowledge of the market, or the limited knowledge that I was getting of the market, or I would have blew all that money. And which is not to say that I didn't just blow it anyway, but I would have gave it away to somebody else. And
right.
so,
do you think that there was kind of some lingering voices in your head maybe about your first experience with it before you joined the Army, just because your literal first introduction was, wow, $40,000 down to $2,000. So do you think that was still kind of lingering around, kind of you making you a little bit hesitant too?
Oh, for sure. Like I didn't even want to invest in mutual funds or any kind of savings accounts or anything savings account in the bank, but no mutual funds, no, super low risk, nothing, because those guys were the ones that were telling me about it, and I watched them lose $38,000 in 4 months. So
you were kind of tarnished, like you were just really which is, it's everything's got its pros and cons. What you've been telling us is a pro, right? That's a good thing that it kept you out of doing some probably really stupid things like your buddy was doing. So sure. This is all 2008, 2009. Things were just going crazy. What actually finally happened where you're like, you know what, I'm going to put some money, I'm going to fund an account, and I want to actually give this a try? Because right now there's clearly a big hurdle that you have in your mind of trying to overcome this. So what was that event that finally helped you overcome kind of the quote unquote tarnishment that you received from your first introduction, way back when?
Well, I started to research it, and I looked at it, and I'd seen you guys and a couple of other people that I was sort of following, just subscriptions to YouTube channels, and and I realized that a lot of the stuff that you, the guy in the T-shirt, everybody always says that. I love that. The guy in the T-shirt says, hey, this is, you can really make a life with this, not the, you can be rich beyond your wildest dreams within 2 minutes. That you can really make a life. And so I started listening to what you said, and even though and everything you said made a lot of sense, all your little 5-minute YouTube clips about free stuff is for, I'm trying to remember what that video was called, free education is for, I don't know, free education doesn't work.
Probably the risk of free education, because free education in and of its whole is not terrible, but there's always the lingering wonder of, is this stuff even good that I'm learning? And then you throw in the fact that if you're just learning stuff in a random order, it's just going to get more confusing, even if it is good information. So yeah, the free isn't really free. when you really stop and start to break it down. But so you're agreeing with all my little 5-minute clips.
Oh yeah.
So keep on going.
So then I ended up. Am I allowed to name names? I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
so then good old Mike Rich, he good old Mojo.
Oh, our favorite, good old Mojo.
Our favorite. Yep. He starts, hey, you can swing for the fences and this and that and the other. And, which I understand, some days, yeah, you're going to swing for the fences and you're going to hit that home run that's twice the length of 2 baseball stadiums. But then all the rest of the days are going to be normal days. And, but anyway, so I got sucked into that and I tried some promo deal that he had going on for a month, which I would say was $300 of good education right there. And after about a day and a half, I realized that, holy cow, that dude was a joke.
So it was $300 of good education in terms of what not to do. Is that what you mean by good
Yeah.
education? Okay.
Yeah, it was at least it only cost me $300 to learn that lesson. That's how I look at it.
And you realized it within the first few days, too. So it's not like you had spent 30 days kind of losing your money, I hope.
Right.
You kind of recognize it in less than 2 days, so that's good. So obviously you're in there now. Are you going to stick around for the entire month? Or, are you trading live at this point? What exactly are you doing in there?
It wasn't live trading. It was all demo trading. But his thing is he wouldn't let you. You can only demo trade his calls. It was this. If you guys have studied psychology, it was this giant groupthink thing where, he's the big bad boss and everybody listens to him and you do what he says and he'll make you rich as long as you do what he says. And if you don't do what he says, he'll belittle you, in his trading chat room all day long, and he'll call you out and he'll call you out by your screen name and then he'll call you out by your real name and just totally berate you and tell everybody that you're off the reservation. And I mean, it was kind of crazy, and I understand guys from, I think he's from New Jersey or something like that. I understand that area of the world. Those guys are a little bit rough and a little sarcastic, and that's fine. But this dude was just a jerk, and
So it was not a good experience, is what you're getting at. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's pretty much, here are the buy signals, buy here, and if you don't, then that's where the belittling comes in.
Oh yeah. What are you thinking? What's wrong with you? How come you don't listen to me? I'm the best. How come you don't listen to me? I'm the king.
And then a lot of averaging down happens, and average down some more. Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
and then, he'd first thing in the morning, he'd get on. Trade room would open up, and then he'd say, all right, we're going to trade this symbol and this symbol and this symbol. And then like 2 minutes into the market open, he'd say, all right, buy at this amount, and so you'd buy at that amount. And it was all demo trading, so none of it was real, but there were guys trading real money, or so they claimed. The more I sat and listened to him, the more I realized that it was, I didn't even know if he was making real trades. He was claiming all this stuff that,
was it mathematically possible when you started to run the math about?
One day he called up and he's like, look, I'm going to buy 5 million shares of this stock, and I'm going to, I'm calling my bank right now. And he gets back on a half an hour later, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to be saying this, but I'm going to anyway, and you guys can decide afterwards. But I'm calling my bank, and they're going to release all my funds, and I'm going to buy 5 million shares of this stock that was like a $5 stock. And he's like, this is my life savings. I'm investing it in all of this, and you watch what happens, because I'm putting so much volume into this account that it's going to go crazy through the roof, which it did. And I don't know if it was real or not. And I just sold 50,000 shares. Look how much money I made. I just sold 50,000 more. And, and he just kept going through. like 3 hours later, he's talking to his little buddy there, and he's like, look, I just made $5 million today. Wouldn't it be awesome if it was real? You know, and I was
So he
listening
was
to that.
demo trading the whole time.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he dropped 25 million bucks into some into some ticker symbol. I just and I was already totally tainted on him anyway, just because of the atmosphere and the environment that he created in his trading room. Um, but after I listened to him, talk to his little buddy, and I'm not kidding, like that they had a really weird relationship, like weird relationship. I don't even know what it was, but that's what those dudes did all day long, and that guy would just sit there and hey, do what he says. He'll make you millions. Do what he says. And so
Well, like you said, at least it was only a $300 lesson,
right.
and at least you got some entertainment out of it. So it might have paid for that in terms of what you kind of had spent. So obviously a
That's
good
it.
thing first off is that you're not it wasn't a live account. You weren't doing anything silly, and literally puppet trading off of head honcho over there. But so what? Where's the next part of your journey take you?
So then I got on ClayTrader.com, and I started talking to you guys, and I actually sent a message, and I had been listening to your podcast and everything for almost 9 months. Um, and anytime I had to go outside and do any kind of mowing the grass or anything like that, I'd listen to your podcasts, uh, and so I sent a message, and Ches answers, and I was like, holy cow. Ches answered. This isn't
Oh,
just
this
some
sounds like it's going to be a good story. Okay, wow. I thought you were going to say, "Oh, Ches answered. I'm stuck with him instead of
no,
Clay or something."
no, not at all. I was like, holy cow, Ches, and this is a guy that
Did you
I'd
think it
been
would be some
listening
guy
to.
from India?
Yeah, yeah, I was wondering, every time I call Sprint, that's what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, he was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" And he was just really relaxed and really, "Hey, this is what's your experience? What are you looking for?" And I said, "Hey, I'm looking for some education." And Ches said, "Where you been?" And I told him where I've been, and he's like, "Oh no, Mojo," And so anyway, then I was like, "Well, shoot, I'm either gonna test the waters and see what I feel like, or I'm just gonna dive right in." And then I dove right in and got CTU, and uh, haven't regretted it at all. Um, the education is just awesome. And it is horribly redundant, which is fine for an old Army guy, because Clay, I'd swear you were trained in the Army, because your level of redundancy it's dummy proof. That's for sure. Uh,
That's why I have that opening slide where I warn everybody, look, I'm here to annoy you, because the power of annoyance is if you can finish my sentences before I even say them, that means you get it. If I can get you to the point of, good grief, Clay, I know that, fill in the blank, and that's what I'm going to say before I say it, then hey, guess what? It is drilled into your head. And there are principles, as you know, that really need to be drilled in your head. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever heard that one before. That I have the redundancy of somebody been trained in the military. So I thank you. I think I don't know. Was that is that good or bad?
it's good. I guess it depends on it actually depends on the end user, not you. So, I mean, if the end user really needs that much redundancy, then it's perfect.
And
You know,
I choose to err on the side of caution. I would hate for somebody to me to not say it enough, and then for somebody to fail because I didn't remind them enough. Whereas if I can just get to the point of annoyance, hey, that's fine by me. I'll take that. So, but I'm curious, and you don't need to throw how did our chat room compare to the one that you would bet your previous experience? I mean, a little bit different.
oh heck yeah, the lounge. Like, I mean, sometimes, like, I remember one time I was paper trading. This is the only time I've ever had my I wouldn't say my head bit off, but I was paper trading, and what was it? It was think or swim, and when you paper trade with Thinkorswim, I think that the demo account is like it's like $100,000. It's huge. Um, and then so I got on, and everybody's always most of the time they'll post their P&L statement, and they're like, hey, look what I did today, and some guy got on, and I don't even remember who it was, and he was like, you trade that much, and I didn't even think at the time it wasn't that much, I think it was like 1,000 shares of something, but it was like 1,000 shares of a $12 stock, or I don't even remember what it was. And he's like, you trade this, $12,000. That's what you trade in the beginning. And I was like, well, not really, and then I think I disappeared. But, all the rest of it, all the rest of it's really cool. Everybody's just really, everybody's really relaxed, and they'll just joke and mess around all day long. And, some people get on there and they're a little bit serious, but most of the time the lounge is just it's a nice place to relax, and you can ask questions, but most of the time we just ask questions about dumb stuff like what happens in Canada, and
It is true. The Canadians, we love our Canadians, but you are outnumbered by Americans, so there is a lot of maple syrup jokes and beaver jokes and bobsled jokes and Monty. Yeah, it just keeps on going. So,
bacon, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So where are you at right now in terms of your trading? I mean, are you focused on options or stocks, or where do kind of things stand right now?
So my plans are, because I have a smaller account, so my plans are definitely to. I haven't been live trading recently because I'm trying to build my account up, and so the way that I'm planning on doing that is going all the way through CTU, getting into the options so that I can build my account up, and then I'll start day trading. But for now, especially now while I have a job and stuff, I'm gonna probably just swing trade those options. So nothing too crazy, and just kind of go from there.
And I want to also point out to our listeners as well right now the fact that we're also kind of a community where I've been in many communities before I actually landed here, but we're the only community that I know of where when people join, we emphasize don't trade right now. Stop what you're doing. Hit the brakes. Like we all understand. Of course, we'd all like to make $1 million tomorrow. But if you go through like the courses and you go through the repetition and you finish Clay sentences, you might have a chance at doing this. And there's a reason why only 10% of people are willing to make it, and that's because they're willing to put in the effort. So kudos to you, first off, for realizing that, you want to go through the courses. You have a kind of job, so you're able to kind of make some deposits into your account. And then obviously, you can start trading the longer, time frame as you keep building that account up. So kudos to you first off, because, you're one of the people who actually, has a chance because you're actually being realistic about this. And that's a rare thing in kind of the financial world in general. So, so that's definitely awesome.
That brings up, I'm curious, maybe you're going to ask this. So if you were, sorry, Chuz, but did you ever trade with real money after having joined the group?
After CTU in the lounge?
Yeah, after you signed up for the CTU, did you ever have any real money on the line at all?
No, because
well, that's good.
I had decided. Yeah, I just decided to go all the way through the education because, everything that you said made complete sense, and it wasn't, and I remember a couple of times paper trading some stuff, and I was like, man, I missed this buy-in point, and a couple of people in the lounge are like, don't worry about it. That stuff happens all the time. It'll happen again, and it turns trading into a profession that way instead of, I missed my golden opportunity, which is a bunch of garbage, because there's thousands of golden opportunities. There isn't just, oh man, I missed my ticker symbol. Well, guess what, guy? There's going to be more.
Absolutely.
And that was, that was kind of it took me a second to wrap my head all the way around that. But that really is the way it is. There's going to be more. If you miss one today, that's okay, because there's going to be another one tomorrow, or there'll be another one next week. But there's going to be more. Exactly.
And I bring that up to illustrate a point that I see quite a bit both in our community and I know other communities. So whether or not you buy any of the courses that we offer on the site, that's besides the point. Maybe you buy a course from somebody else. That's totally fine too. I give you props for investing into your education. But that's not like your get out of jail free card in terms of, well, I invested in my education, therefore I'm still allowed to trade with real money because I've invested in my education. No, you got to go like Kent did. So that's why I asked the question. He invested into his education, and then he stopped trading with real money because, well, now you got to get educated. Way too many times, and I want Ches to comment on this too because I'm sure he sees it quite a bit. But people think that, hey, yeah, good. I just spent money on education. Again, it doesn't have to be with anything that we offer. It could be with somebody else. But you have to stop trading at that point in time. That is not, I spent money, I keep trading, and I'll learn as I go through this material with real money. That's just not how it goes. And do you see that quite a bit too, Ches, with I like to call it the get out of jail card?
Yeah, so, and I think this, and I won't take this, I could derail this conversation very easily to a much bigger problem in society, but yes, we have it, and, I've actually done it as well in the sense of, okay, I invested in my education, right? And I flew through the courses. I mean, I just binge watched them like more than 8 hours a day, morning, afternoon while I was at work, and then in the evening, no sleep. So I flew through the courses, and then immediately in my head, I immediately thought, I finished CTU, bam, I'm going to hit the markets, and I'm just going to be a beast. That is not how it works. Just because I invested in myself does not mean that the work ends there. And that's where the practice should begin, and that's why we stress, don't be trying to trade live while you're learning, because all you're going to do is, we talk about those voices in your head. Those voices are super extra strong when you don't know what you don't actually know. And as you kind of get more educated and you spend more time and get more familiar with, charts, structuring your risk, planning your trades out, those voices start to pipe down eventually to the point where you can control it and realize when they're going to actually really screw you over. So yes, but that's like I said, I could tie this into a much bigger societal problem where you invest in yourself and check that off the list, and then magically you're supposed to be the best at it.
Yeah, that's in a lot of cases that's true, right? You go to college, you invest in your education, you go through all the classes, and then a paycheck starts showing up because you get a job. Trading isn't quite like that. You gotta put in the time, yes, but then you gotta put in so much more effort even after you go through stuff. So yeah, good analogy there, Ches. So, or not analogy, I guess good personal experience. Because I remember I'm like, when Ches first joined, I'm like, holy crap, this guy's already through everything. So yeah, you binge watch things all right. And then my other favorite is people, they watch them like double speed, and then they're making comments. I'm like, well, you're probably one of these people that watch, the courses, they speed them up. Oh yeah, well, you're going to miss all sorts of stuff. That's just take your time. So that's definitely what you're doing, Kent. So, props to you to echo Ches in that regard. So some things right now, I mean, what do you think you're pretty good at in terms of strengths? And then what are some things as you're practicing right now that you probably definitely still need to work on? So strengths and weaknesses.
Robotic trading, holy cow. RT was, totally redundant, totally, oh my gosh, again, for real, I'm not too. But watching that and then learning how to read charts and then all the different courses through reading charts and patterns and everything like that was just incredible because, I mentioned my buddy before in 2008, 2009, trading in the Wild Wild West. And I asked him what he used to trade on, and I already said this, that he would trade on headlines, he would trade on, and I mean, to me, he even said this, I trade on headlines, I trade on emotion, I trade on momentum, anyway, he ended up losing a lot of money, and I asked him if he traded on charts, if he knew how to read charts, and he was like, well, I kind of look at the charts, but I don't really understand any of that stuff. And I think it really hit me because listening to, going through RT, and it was kind of like, well, duh, who wouldn't want to know this information? Who wouldn't want to know how to read charts and how to see what's going on? And when my buddy told me he didn't really know how to read charts, but he's been trading for years, that just kind of, that right there made me really, really want to step back and say, you know what, no. Even if I think I'm ready, I'm still going to take a minute to go through it all over again or do something to make sure that I continue to work on it and get these fundamentals down because I don't understand how somebody could trade without reading charts. and
Yeah.
it
It's definitely, a tool. You got to pick your tools, and if you're not proficient in that tool, then you're bound to get slaughtered for sure.
right. You trade headlines and stuff like that. I mean, who we all crack jokes about, the mainstream media, telling you the truth, giving you things that you should live by. Uh, but you trade mainstream media headlines on business reports and different things like that. I mean, you're crazy. That is nuts.
Yep, and I have I'll the longer I've been in this kind of industry, the more I say, if you can make that work for you personally, good for you. Like, I really respect it, and I'm just happy if people are making money in the market generally. But for me, I always say this because I deal with a lot of people in the support chat who say, well, I just trade based on what CNBC is saying or something. I'm like, well, I'm going to give you some news here, and this goes for just about all news agencies in general. If you're hearing it on the news, it has already been priced in. It's late. You're late to the party, and the news is just using it now, and it's all part of the ratings, blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to go down that path. But obviously, I always say that I could probably tell you before something happens based on the chart, and I always use this as a grim example, but if there was a terrorist attack of some kind, I would probably know just watching the general S&Ps that something had happened, good or bad, depending on, which way the market's going, and probably before the even news breaks the story. So that's, like you said, me personally, the chart has everything I kind of need to kind of manage my trades and know what's going on. But I guess I do have a question for you. Now, have you ever actually traded live at all?
I haven't actually.
Clay, this is a first, and I'm actually This is awesome.
Yeah, so you're actually boring, but I mean boring in like the best of ways. Are you telling me that you're actually gonna learn how to do this before you put any real money on the line? Is that what I'm understanding from all this?
Yeah, I got a wife and 5 kids to think about. I'm not just gonna be, no offense to anybody else out there, I'm not gonna be stupid about this and just oh, I think it'll work, I'm gonna try this. I know it'll work, and I'm gonna make sure that it works, because I'm going to make sure that I know everything that I need to know to make it work.
Yeah, I got to just, like Ches and I, we're not like, this is not a show in terms of us being shocked. Behind the scenes here, I Skyped with Ches, and I typed to him, I'm going to read you the message that I sent to Ches, because this is very foreign territory to both of us. Ask him if he's ever taken a loss, ... How does he deal with it now? And then I put, just realizing we have no idea if he's ever done a live trade. So that's why Ches asked you that, because now that I'm stopping to think about it, I'm like, wait a second. And I'm reminiscing back to our days in the chat room, like, I don't think I ever remember him actually doing a real trade. I know he was paper trading, but did he ever have to go down the slope of, well, let me do live money and then get smacked in the face and then, oh, now I have to paper trade. So you are an elite company in terms of, I don't even know what to describe it as, doing the commonsensical thing, which isn't too common.
He's actually doing what we recommend and what we suggest, and he's actually trying to avoid, and he's successfully doing it, having to learn that hard lesson of, losing half your account or blowing up or something like that. He's literally doing it the exact way we suggest, and not saying, oh, I'll be different than, I'll be that one guy who's not different. You're literally listening, and it's just so refreshing to see. This is such a shining example of what people should be doing every time you want to get in the market, if you're new.
Well, it's really terrible for us, though, because we like to ask the question, so tell us about how you used to take losses and now how you deal with them right now. Well, he's never even taken a loss before because he's actually doing it the right way, so... Hey, screw you, Kent, for eliminating this question from us. That's you little wise guy. That was my New Jersey accent. You wise guy. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. Ches, do you have a New Jersey accent or New York or anything?
I already did my accent earlier, so I'm not gonna do it again. When I was the broker, what are you, a sucker or something? Why are you? I'm not gonna do that. Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Yeah. So, well, cool. So, I mean, do you have any plans of when? Let me ask this: what signs are you looking for that's gonna be like, all right, I'm ready to go live? Are you looking for some sort of maybe amount you can grow your account to? Are you looking for some sort of consistency measures? How exactly are you going to define when you're ready to go with real money?
Well, I think, really, I want to make it through, I want to go through RVR, which I'm pretty close to that. I hear you guys always getting in the chat room. You're like, hey, that's not very RVR of you, and they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, man, I know, and so I've heard or seen, I've read you guys typing that stuff over and over and over again, and it just kind of makes me back up and say, wow, I think I really need to go through RVR and then go all the way through the options first. Dollar wise, I'm gonna have an account of $2,000, and that's what I'm gonna start my options with, and just kind of go from there. But I got to make sure that I get all the way through the training first, because I know that, and I believe you guys. You always talk about the voices in your head. I mean, I've had voices in my head, and I was just paper trading, especially swing paper trading, and it's like, well, this is a fake account, and I know I can just put my money back up. If I get to the end of the day and I lose my shirt, well, guess what? I can just put on another shirt tomorrow. It's totally okay. But I swing trade, and then I'm like, hey, I can't even work now because I'm worried about this stupid trade that's not even real. And so I need to, I want to get my I know that, I know I'm going to be calling you guys and being like, oh, I don't know. I know I'm going to freak out, but I realized too, in the Army, I jumped out of airplanes, and I know that sometimes you just gotta jump, and trust that what they told you is going to work. And so
were they redundant when they told you that it would work?
Oh my gosh. Holy cow.
See, there you go. See, that's why I care. I want you to know that it works, Kent. That's why I'm redundant, okay? So it's just, I'm like your little paratrooper drill sergeant.
Three straight weeks of learning how to jump out of a perfectly good airplane, bruises and sweating and running with my helmet bouncing on the top of my head and all that stuff, and just slamming into the ground over and over and over again. And, and then finally they put you in the airplane, and you're like, oh, crud, I'm actually going to have to do this, and then you jump out and everything works just the way they told you, and you land and you don't get broken. And, well, not all the way, but that's a different story for a different day. And then, you learn, and then you get to the point where, okay, now I can actually feel comfortable about this because everything worked the way that they said it was going to work. So, but now I know what I'm doing, and that's the phase that I'm going to get to probably here pretty quick in the next in the next month or two.
And I assure you, if you actually stick to the plan and do exactly what you practice, you too will, just like jumping out of the plane. Everything will work out, assuming you don't magically deviate and kind of start doing some new different stuff. But so I guess as far as kind of routines and how you're, I know you're still working, you're still getting through the material. So what is your routine for kind of studying the material? Are you trying to get in an hour a couple times a week? Are you taking notes? What's that look like for you?
Oh yeah, both of those things. I love taking notes. I like to get a couple hours in every week. I like to, and then it's nice to paper trade too, because then I can, then I can kind of put into practice some of the things that you've talked about. Oh, here's a new way to read this chart, or here's a new pattern to follow, or look at, or notice. Or here's a new indicator that it might do this. Just some pretty cool things. And so that's pretty much what I try to do. And I love to take notes. I like to journal, even though sometimes I don't like to journal, but that's the time that I know I need to journal, is when I have, I have done those things that have just not been good.
So as we start to wrap things up here, as you may be aware, I'm assuming since you said you've listened to a bunch of the podcasts, but Ches has a time machine, and Ches, well, you have military training, so I don't think Ches has any choice in terms of if he's going to lend it to you or not. So if Ches were to lend you his time machine, and you could go back to, I don't know, I'll let you pick the starting spot, and I'm very curious what your answer here is going to be, because you've actually never traded. But if you could go back and give yourself one bit of advice, what would your bit of advice be?
I think, honestly, without sounding too cliche, I really would just jump on the education sooner. and then just be really regimented about it, because it's, I don't know if I'd go back any farther, except that I would just jump on the education sooner, because it with the education, it really is what makes the difference. And I used to work for some guys, and they sold mutual funds, some Smith Barney mutual funds. And they would always talk about guys who learn how to day trade, and how big of a commitment it is, and how much a waste of life it is. And, you can have this guy that's a professional mutual fund advisor trade your money for you, and that's his job to make money, and this and that and the other. And, learning, I mean, yeah, it's some work, and the education is there, or it is required to do that, but it's not all that craziness that everybody always talked about. But of course, they were just trying to sell you their mutual funds, So I would just jump on the education sooner.
Very good, very good. Now, first off, I want to thank you again for kind of taking the time to speak with us. And honestly, you are a shining example of how people should actually progress through the courses and not kind of rush through it and start throwing your money while you're not actually ready to do it. So you're a great example for that, and I really hope the listeners kind of pick that up. But obviously, the only reason Clay invited you here was to ask you this one question, and that is, what is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, gosh,
Boiler Room?
No. No, I actually did. I worked in a boiler room for a little while, but I couldn't handle lying to people that much. That was kind of rough. I would have to say that my favorite movie. I got 5 kids, so I just watched what I watch. Good Dinosaur. I animated movies.
Hey, there are some good animated movies out there.
Yeah.
So you're kind of whatever.
Comedies.
Nice. What about food? What do you like to eat, and what's your favorite dessert?
I living in North Carolina, I'm actually starting to gain a taste for Southern barbecue. And if you guys have never had Southern barbecue before, I'm not going to tell you that it's awesome, but it is unique. Just get your pulled pork and dump vinegar all over it and a little bit of sugar, and that's pretty much what you got. I used to live in Brazil, so I also learned to eat a bunch of real good Brazilian food. So some of the Brazilian desserts. If you guys ever have a chance, go to a rodizio type of a Brazilian restaurant, and you won't be disappointed. That's got to be probably one of my favorite places to go.
Nice. We'll have to put that on the list for one of our meetup spots, as we'll do some Brazilian. But now, what do you do for fun and hobbies, kind of outside and work and studying up on the markets?
I like skiing. I spend a lot of time with my family. Pretty much anything I can do with the kids and my wife. Hiking. We like going to the ocean. Just Saturday we went out to the beach, and my almost 2-year-old son, he loved that. The waves coming in and squishing him, and kind of, and so it's standing there listening to him squeal and run back and forth up, chasing the waves down, and then screaming as they come up to get him. And so anyway, I love hanging out with my family.
Nice. And when you got 5 kids, I'm sure there's always something entertaining going on. So final question here. I'm sure you know what's coming, but what are the 3 words that you would use to describe a successful trader?
Oh, I'm trying to think of the one word for it. Intentional.
I like that one.
And I think just that. I know you said 3 words, but I'm going to be crazy here and just say patient and intentional, because I think that if you don't have a plan and you're not intentional about it, you're just gonna drift. You're gonna go wherever whatever news or the market or whatever, just it's going to suck you around like nobody else's business.
That's true. The shiny object syndrome will have full control over you in that case. So that's a very good point, and we'll let you go too. I mean, you had good justification, so that's fine by us. No need to. I guess we won't have to get. Well, then again, you have military training, so any threats will just be laughed at by you. So it doesn't even matter. So, but in all seriousness, thank you again. Like Ches was saying, we know you're busy. We know you got a lot going on right now. But thanks for taking time out of your day to talk with us.
Thank you, guys. This was awesome.
For you listeners out there, would like to make a few final requests. First, if you're listening on the website, click that share button, leave us a comment below. Little things like that go a long way. Same with if you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players. Make sure to subscribe so you're always up to date on when we release new episodes. And if you got a few extra moments, a ranking and some comments are always appreciated on those, especially on iTunes. And then finally, if you're listening on YouTube, which seems to be getting more and more popular, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you can be informed on when more podcasts are released, along with a whole ton of videos that I have out there, whether it be live trade videos, chart analysis videos, quick tip videos. There's quite a bit on the channel, so definitely check that out on YouTube. So thanks again to Kent. Thank you to all you listeners. We will see you back for the next episode.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the ClayTrader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit ClayTrader.com.